Hello, my name is Maria Hernandez Romero. I am a sophomore at Morristown High School, and this is my first year of life design. If you were to ask my mother one thing you would find me doing when I'm not doing anything at all, she would say, Mi hija siempre anda leyendo. ¿De qué? No sé, pero siempre anda allá leyendo algo. This translates to, my daughter is always reading. Reading what? I don't know, but she's always reading something. Reading has always been a part of my life. It's my hobby. It's something I enjoy doing when I'm not scrolling through any social media platform. Whether I'm in class and reading a PDF form of a book or at my house with a physical copy of an old classic literature, I take every chance I get to at least read a single sentence. This year, I find the time I read reduced significantly because of the workload increase at school, though I still take every chance I can get to finish reading at least a single paragraph. With that in mind, I came into life design, a class I had to take regardless because it was a requirement for STEM Academy, knowing that I wanted to do something that closely related to my love of literature. At first, I was given the idea by Mr. Daly to improve my writing and public speaking skills by writing a series of personal narratives that could hopefully help me in the long term. I spent about 2 to 3 classes trying to write it, only to find that I absolutely hated the idea. Of course, I could always improve both of these skills, but I suddenly found myself more confident with presentations than I had previously thought. Still, I spent another few days just staring off into space, thinking about how unhappy I am with the project I had to go with, simply because it was given to me and it seemed fairly reasonable. A thing to understand about me is that I will persist with something even if it pains me. I once spent an entire week of graphic design in middle school trying to perfect a photographic mosaic of my favorite celebrity. Throughout that whole process, I was stuck in a miserable cycle of trying to fix or add details, only to be unhappy and fix or add more details, and so on. That annoying little trait of mine hasn't exactly gone away. Because while I knew my original project wasn't going to get me far, my pride and perfectionism made me reject the idea of starting a new project and leaving this one unfinished. For the 1.5 week of working on our projects, I spent my time doing absolutely everything and absolutely nothing. I would walk into class, do unnecessary research and writing only to get a massive headache and read anything unrelated to what I was doing. I began spiraling, and I think I would have continued to spiral had it not been for one of my friends. She told me that even if it hurt my perfectionist little heart to change the idea, it was better to do that rather than continue working on something that I absolutely despised. So, with my slightly wounded pride, I started to research for other possible projects for the school year. Fortunately, I came across something called bookbinding, a process of bringing pages of paper together into sets or signatures, to then sew them together and add a cover to end up with a fully functional book or notebook. I was ecstatic, because this project would both benefit me and hopefully help others in the process who simply wanted to invest in a hobby without wasting a bunch of money. This new idea would satisfy my need to read books and my want to do more creative things. So with my confidence regained, I walked up to Mr. Daly and asked him if I could change my project. Of course, he said yes, and that I was in control of what I did with my time, but I wasn't actually listening to that bit. I had gotten the green light to work on something creative and fun. I had come across many problems, one of them being that I tried to make the bookbinding as cheap as I could. This didn't work out. The first product of cheap bookbinding was badly cut and was essentially just trash made out of Amazon cardboard and cheap printer paper. Eventually, I learned that for this project, I would have to spend actual money on some pricey things, whether I liked it or not. So I went through another loophole of testing projects and trying different methods of stitching. It was very continuous. So very repetitive. It got boring after a while. By the time January hit, I found myself not having any passion for the work that was doing. Sure, I was doing work after school, and I was getting everything done as I needed it to, but I was lacking the source of ambition. Remember how I said I had a nasty habit of not dropping work even if I hate it? That was what I kept doing. I felt hopeless because even though I might have liked one step of the process, which was making the cover of the finished product, I couldn't exactly just suddenly change my work all of a sudden. It was already the beginning of February when I came to the conclusion that all this work held no true desire to be made. I wanted so desperately to make it work because I did find some joy in working on it, but when I really thought about it, the process that pained me the most was the repetition of the stitching itself. Mr. Daly had asked me to explain the process of sewing papers together about a week before exhibition night, and I found it painfully hard to explain it to him. Because despite the fact that I knew how to do it, I couldn't put my thoughts into words because at that point it had just become mechanical work. No thoughts or explanations, just stitches and threads. It came to the point where he tried to recreate the process onto a thick board, but there was clear miscommunication on the quote unquote stitching. Throughout this whole process, I learned a bit more about myself. I hate thoughtless, repetitive work. It's so simple and easy once you know what you're doing, but it's also so plain and low stimulating handwork. Had I given up on my pride or came to the realization earlier, perhaps I could have found something else to push me to finish a project I was proud of, instead of just adding more onto my project that had no real meaning. All of this to say, I might not have finished or even liked my final project, but I did learn quite a lot during this process that I don't think I would have before. For the possible future, where more passion projects will exist, I'd like to take a step back and really think about the work I've done to see if I truly like what's being done, and if I don't, then I would like to take that chance to visit something different that would surely catch my attention. If you were to ask my mother what I did throughout this class, she would say, No sé qué está haciendo, pero más vale que lo hace bien. This translates to, I don't know what she's doing, but she better be doing it right. And I'd like to say that I think I'm doing all right.